So Justine is our next speaker, and Justine is currently a dementia care counselor at the Alzheimer Society of Durham region, where she supports persons living with dementia and caregivers through counseling, education, and support groups. In her role, she also helps to facilitate the Enhancing Care program through the Reitman Center, where she provides psychotherapy groups for caregivers. Justine has been a registered nurse for over 23 years and has worked in various areas such as transplant, critical care, post-acute care, mental health, and geriatric emergency management, and has worked in clinical educator and management roles. She has a Master of Nursing in Health Systems, Leadership and Administration through the University of Toronto, and is currently at the tail end of completing a Master of Psychospiritual Studies at Knox College, Toronto School of Theology, also at the University of Toronto. Justine has found her renewed vocation and purpose in becoming a nurse psychotherapist and soon to be registered psychotherapist with the College of Registered Psychotherapists of Ontario. She believes in the use of spirituality integrated psychotherapy, where she is able to honor the whole person, mind, body, and spirit. In the therapeutic space, Justine offers a place where spiritual beliefs, lived experiences, and the facets of intersectionality, such as culture, age, race, gender, abilities, religion, are welcomed as essential parts of the healing process and life journey. So, again, we'll have some time at the end for questions. If you have questions throughout, feel free to put them in the chat. And Justine, I'm going to hand it over to you.
Thanks so much, Ashley, for that introduction. And thank you so much to Craig for our previous presenters and as well as everyone else's presenters this morning. Just going to make sure that I'm able to share my screen. Okay. And I hope everyone can see the presenter or the presentation slides.
You're good, Justine.
Perfect. Wonderful. Thank you so much. And I won't be able to see the chat. So if anything comes up, Ashley, I would appreciate your extra eyes.
Yep. Do
Okay.
you want me to
Thank
say them
you.
till the very end? All the questions?
Um, if there are some that are along the way, I do have some questions to ask our
Okay.
members that are attending. So yeah, we can do it as we go.
Okay, I'll be right
Great.
here.
Great. Thank you. So good afternoon, everyone. First and foremost, I just wanted to honor and recognize the time that you've all taken to be here today. Whether you're a caregiver, a family member, even a healthcare provider, even a presenter, or a member of the community, or maybe you're all of the above. We've had some interesting weather today, so just really taking in and appreciating your presence here today. Um, I'm not able to see you all, and that's okay. But since I'm aware that you're seeing me, I'm just going to take a moment right now just to slow myself down and just taking in the present moment and just taking in your presence here in this space as you're on the other side of the screen and we're all here together. So, a little bit about me as Ashley has introduced myself. So, thank you again, Ashley. I'm Justine and I'm an RN psychotherapist. And believe it or not, I've actually been working for the Alzheimer Society for almost 4 years now. And I do help to provide emotional support, the education, and system navigation for our caregivers and persons living with dementia. And I must say, as I continue to grow in this role, I felt deeply called to further help others in finding their meaning and purpose in their life in the midst of caregiving. So I invite you all to spend some time together with me, exploring what finding meaning and purpose is in your life, especially in the day-to-day of life's responsibilities and caregiving. And you will see that we are starting off today's session with new beginnings. And I want to acknowledge that each of us, all of us, are coming into this space with different experiences. Perhaps you have started your day really early, even before this conference had started. Maybe you didn't get enough sleep, and you may also have been here right from the beginning of this conference. And so I just wanted to name and honor what each of you are all bringing into this space together. And just recognizing that the here and now, right in this very moment, we're beginning anew together. And so this time that we have together is a time for you, is a time for you and me, and a time for all of us to be together. So if it's all right with you, I would like to share a story. I recently started a very new spiritual care support group, and this past summer called Finding Meaning and Purpose. And I shared my story that I'm about to share with you right now at our support group for the very first time. So if some of you who are here from this group, you will get to hear from my story again. So this is a story about finding meaning and purpose in my life. So about maybe 4 years ago in 2022, I was going through a very difficult time in my life where I would say I had reached a crossroad. I felt stuck and I just didn't know what to do. And so on a cold, wintry day in February, actually very similar to a day like this outside, I decided to go out on an intentional and reflective walk. And I walked through my usual route in my neighborhood, including our neighborhood park. And our park has a pathway just along its perimeter with a baseball field in the middle. And as I approached that park, I noticed like the entire park, it was just covered all over in snow, except for the path of footprints that you see here in this photo. And when I got to this point, my steps actually got slower. And it was almost like I reached my metaphysical, my metaphorical and physical crossroad. And so, as you see on the left in that photo, was the trail of many footprints, but it was actually on the right that there was one set of footprints that had caught my attention. And so, here's a close up of that crossroad. And if you look even closer, you will see on the right a path that someone had chosen to walk through with their ski poles. And so what struck me was that they took this particular path on their own. And it was in this very moment I had asked myself, do I continue on a path, a common path, the one on the left, the one that everyone has traveled through, or do I take the path less traveled? And so I knew intellectually that this was just a path, but deep down, and you'll see me as I, just, really touch my chest and my heart, it meant more to me than that. And I recall that I actually felt fear. And that if I went right, it was scary. And if I went left, it was still scary. And so that moment reflected that stuckness that I was feeling in my life and, the feeling of not being able to decide if I should go left or if I should go right. So which way did I go? I took a deep breath and I went right. I intentionally walked through that path with the one set of footsteps. And it may be difficult to see, but as I walked the path, the snow actually got deeper and deeper. And as it got deeper, it got harder. And I will admit, so did my tears. I cried during this entire path. I'm actually feeling a little emotional and shaky right now, just thinking about that journey. I cried because I was scared. I was alone and I was uncertain how much deeper it would actually get. Not just because of the snow, but metaphorically, if I chose this path for my life. And so at one point, I thought, you know what, Justine, I can't do this. Um, maybe I need to turn around. Maybe this was a mistake. But as I walked, I recognized that that path was already walked on because someone had created that particular path to guide me. And so for me, spiritually, it was the symbolic of the transcendent, something greater than me who was guiding me, paving the way even before I got to that crossroad. And so, um, needless to say, I got through it and something within me shifted. Fast forward to today, right at this very moment, that choice, that point in my life where I decided to go right, that path led me here to the Alzheimer's Society. And I'm realizing, right now I'm reaching full circle because I'm at the tail end of completing a Master of Psychospiritual Studies to become a spiritually integrated registered psychotherapist. And I was given the gift of having a glimpse of meaning and purpose in my life. And I felt called to help others to find meaning and purpose in their lives. So thanks for allowing me to share a really, really important moment in my life with you. So, on the topic of, as we shift, on the topic of meaning and purpose, I thought I would transition us to exploring what is spirituality and also what is religion. Oftentimes, those two terms are used interchangeably and, in fact, can be seen as we would call social constructs. Or, in other words, how do we as a society define religion and spirituality? In the traditional view, religion, it was a very broad concept that included personal and social ways of expression, and also the potential for good and bad. And so, by definition, as you see here on the screen, religion is an adherence to a specific organized belief system, including rituals, practices, traditions, and a community of believers. Family and ethnic ties are often a factor into a person's religious affiliation. And I also wanted to honor and name that not everyone has had a positive experience with religion, and maybe a little bit of both. Everyone has had their unique experiences related to religion. What is spirituality then? So, spirituality, on the other hand, is more about a personal and oftentimes an individual quest for meaning and purpose and connection to something larger than oneself. It's a personal journey of seeking meaning, connection, inner peace beyond the institutional boundaries. Yeah. And those who hold religious beliefs, we also want to consider that they may or may not consider themselves spiritual. And then there are those who are spiritual who may or may not have any religious beliefs. And those individuals may see themselves who are spiritual but not religious, believe that there is something spiritual beyond the natural world, something bigger than us, but not necessarily believing in God per se. Some other terms that have been used could include a higher power, or even the universe, or the creator. And then we also want to acknowledge that, there are also those who are both religious and spiritual, and then there are those who are neither spiritual nor religious. It's an individual way of how we view oneself, and it's not about fitting in any specific boxes. Is what does it mean for you? No right or wrong here. And so maybe this is where I will invite maybe Ashley to help me out here. I don't know if there's going to be some hands, but how many people here in the room have experienced or continue to experience the stress and strain, the overload and exhaustion, the feelings of anxiety and social isolation, and the physical and emotional toll? And, I should raise my hand, in the day to day. And so, interestingly, I came across one research study that demonstrated that caregivers who may use spirituality as a way of coping with stress and coming to terms with their caregiving circumstances. Um, Sorry, I think I may have worded that incorrectly. It was a research study that demonstrated that those who use spirituality are able to cope better with those stress. Sorry, that sounded much better. With stress, coming to terms with their caregiving circumstances. And other studies have demonstrated that higher levels of spiritual well-being were associated with reduced stress, and caregivers who had lower coping styles and little emotional support were noted to have lower levels of spiritual well-being and higher levels of caregiver burden. And so this is to say that spiritual well-being may help to alleviate stressful caregiving experiences. Now, what is spiritual well-being? So some of you may notice and recognize the self-care wheel. If this is your first time, this wheel is an example of our well-being, of how it's made up of our physical, psychological, emotional, personal, professional, and spiritual status. Where do we lie in this self-care wheel? And spirituality can be found in many places. We can find the spiritual in a piece of music, the smile of a passing stranger, the color of the sky at dusk, or maybe even a prayer of gratitude or meditation, maybe even journaling, coloring. And in our self-care wheel, the writing might be a little small, so I can list that off for you. So that could include self-reflection, going into nature, finding a spiritual community. That may even include a religious community, but not. Meditation, singing, dance, play, playing with the playing with children, a pet, yoga, maybe even taking up yoga, watching a sunset, volunteering for a cause, and fostering self-forgiveness. And I also realize that these suggestions that are listed here on the self-care wheel, they may not be feasible for everyone, and they may not even resonate, and that is okay. So it's just important to note that spirituality is just so individual. And so spirituality can reveal itself in the ways we think, the way we feel, act, and the ways we actually even relate to each other. It is in what I personally call the sacred moments that the immediate realities fade into the background, when time seems to stand still, and when it feels as if something larger than itself is happening. When I am encountering sacred moments with another, whether that be in laughter, whether that be in tears, or just in each other's presence. And I often feel that in the room when I'm with my clients or when I'm with family members. And I believe that the meeting of souls is taking place. And it's almost like just in the here and now, as we're all here together. Again, I'm just sort of sensing everyone's presence on the other side of the screen. Caregiving for someone with dementia is more than a significant life event. It is more than that. Caregiving raises profound, disturbing questions about our place and purpose in the world. They point to the limits of our human capabilities. And these deep questions seem to call for a spiritual response, and spirituality helps people come to terms with our human limitations. And so, in a sense, spirituality is a vital resource for living. And for some, it could be a whole new source of value and significance when old dreams are no longer viable. So, what are spiritual resources? And for some, what are new spiritual sources to pull from? Again, these are what feels best and right for you. Again, what works for someone may not work for another. And especially too for caregivers, time is of the essence. Spirituality is going to have different meaning for each person. And so I wanted to ask just our audience today, and just if we could pause for a moment, what are some ways that you can integrate spirituality in your life? And so I want to pause again, and maybe Ashley, if there are some comments in the chat, just want to take a minute right now and allow each of you, if you'd like, to share how you integrate spirituality in your life. There's no right or wrong here. Perhaps you don't integrate spirituality and you're here because you're curious. So just give a moment there and pause. And Ashley, if you happen to see anything pop into the chat,
I'll read them out for you.
excellent, excellent.
So far, we've got meditation, gratefulness
Mm,
moments,
mm. Meditation, gratefulness moments. Yeah. Again, just to really slow things down as it gets busy, as we have the day-to-day responsibilities. Um,
someone else has put in journaling, sorry,
yeah. Yeah, and I
gratefulness,
also have
prayer.
my pop up too, so thank you.
Oh, good.
Yes, journaling. I love that. And journaling can be any time. It doesn't mean it needs to be in a space where things are all quiet and the candles are up. It actually can be any time and what feels right for you. Sometimes individuals like to write with a pen and a piece of paper and journaling and have a special book. Some like to write it on their phone. And I love this. Thank you, Carola. I hope I pronounced that. Need to bring this into my life. Yeah, I love that. And I appreciate you and everyone for keeping an open mind. Gratefulness, prayer, ongoing connection. Thank you, Noreen. Thank you, Cheryl and Viv. Gratitude, prayer, ongoing connection. That somehow that we can be on a screen and we can still have a sense of connection. Just want to make sure I'm doing okay for time. Okay. So one example of a spiritual exercise is called Visio Divina, known as divine seeing. And Visio Divina invites us to encounter the divine or what we define as sacred through images. Oops, sorry. And its roots actually come from Catholicism, but as you see here, there are commonalities amongst even other religions. So in the Hindu tradition, it's about seeing sacred images as a way to connect with the sacred. In Buddhism, meditation produces inner seeing into the true nature of reality. In the Islam tradition, divine light and prophecy reveal truth and guidance. And in indigenous traditions, there's a focus on sacred interconnection, right? How do we weave in connection? The weaving of the basket. I just sort of had a symbol that came into the mind's eye of the weaved basket. And so the divine is perceived through nature, ancestors, and the land. And so for this exercise, it's very brief. Visio Divina has been adapted so that anyone of any faith, of no faith, spiritual, no spiritual, each of you can participate. And if you choose to or not, that's okay too. So this is a painting by James Jacko, an indigenous artist. Uh, and this painting is called The Tree of Life. And you're open, feel free to, you can just take a moment right now if you wanted to get a piece of paper or a pen, or if you have a journal. Um, or you don't even have to either. It may just be just something you just want to be present with. And what you write down, you don't need to share anything. That is something for you and your experience to have. Um, and so I will pause just here in this moment. Again, writing things down is completely optional, or you can just simply choose to be present and not write anything at all. So let's get comfortable. Getting comfortable in your seat and just feeling the ground beneath you, or if you're in a chair, or if you're standing up, just feeling the ground that's underneath you and allowing for a breath in at your own pace and just letting it out at your own pace as well. And I invite you to look at the image and just let your eyes stay just with the first thing you see, focusing your attention on the part of the image that just first catches your eye. Try to keep focus And try to keep your eyes from wandering to other parts of the picture. Breathing in deeply, or maybe even at a pace and depth that feels most comfortable for you. Allowing yourself to gaze just at the part of the image. Now I invite you to let your eyes now gaze, just taking a step back and gaze at the whole image. Take your time looking at every part of the image and just slowly taking it in, seeing it all. And in your mind, or if you want to write it down, what emotions does this image evoke for you? Maybe it doesn't. Maybe this feels strange and new and awkward. Maybe there's a color that you're gravitating towards. Do any emotions, do they show up in your body? Do they show up in your shoulders, maybe even your hands, your chest, your back or feet? What does this image stir up for you, bring forth in you? Is it a memory? And if you find your mind wandering, that's okay. It's supposed to do that. Just gently bring your attention back to the image and back to my voice. And during this time, I invite you to engage in what is most meaningful and sacred to you. Perhaps it's offering a prayer to God, a higher power, or the universe. Perhaps it's even thinking of a person in your life, or maybe even a stranger, a neighbor, and sending them thoughts of positivity and well-being. Or perhaps you just simply want to just be in silence. And so today, before we close, I'd like to take an opportunity to honor the hearts and hands of those who care for family members living with dementia. Caregiving is an act of deep love, sometimes tender, sometimes exhausting, sometimes confusing, and yet always meaningful. And we also acknowledge that some relationships have different types of love, some with and some without love at all. Relationships are not all straightforward, and I want to give honor and space to that as well. And that love means different for some. And as you see here, you'll see on the screen, blessing of the hands. And, our hands, each of you who are here, they carry stories. They hold memories. They offer comfort even when words fade. And so today I'd like to take this moment to bless these hands, my hands, your hands. And if it feels right for you as I read this out, I invite each of you to pause and maybe look at your hands as I start with our opening reflection. Feel free to take your time as, we reflect together to, maybe look at your hands, every aspect of your hands, front and back. You may also maybe hold your hands together, maybe massage them, or hold them on your lap or on your belly. And if you want, you can even close your eyes or cast your gaze just softly in front of you. So just take a moment right now and just do what feels best and what feels right for you. So as we together, if we can just take a deep breath in, and a deep breath out, just letting in the air to nourish you, and letting out what we don't need. I invite you to think of all that your hands have done. They've held medication, pill bottles, and arranged medication. They have driven your family members to doctor appointments, held onto the phone to return calls and make appointments. They've prepared meals, brushed hair, tidied and decluttered rooms, bought flowers and groceries, put on medical gloves, masks, sometimes shields while visiting long-term care. Your hands have comforted during moments of fear or frustration, wiped tears, sometimes theirs, sometimes yours. Reached out when there were no words, steadied someone whose steps were unsure, and continued on even when tired or overwhelmed. And maybe even today, you may have shoveled snow, the cold and heavy snow, all alone. Your hands are instruments of devotion. May these hands be blessed for the work they have done and the work they will continue to do. May they find strength when they feel weak and rest when they are weary. May they remember that gentleness does not mean weakness and that love expressed through touch is sacred work. May these hands be guided by patience even when confusion grows. May they be softened by compassion even when frustration arises. May they be honored, for they are doing sacred work, the work of preserving dignity, presence, and connection. And may the one who receives your care, whether they can say it or not, know in the depths of their being that they are loved. And so may these hands be blessed for all that they have done. May they be blessed with strength when they tremble, with patience when times are difficult, and with gentleness when tenderness feels hard to find. May they remember that care does not have to be perfect to be meaningful. May they know that rest is not weakness, but a necessary part of continuing to love. May these hands be guided by compassion, not only for the person they care for, but also for themselves. May they feel supported, held, and honored in this moment. For the work they do, again, is so sacred, even when it feels ordinary. And if it feels comfortable for you, I invite you to place one hand or maybe even both of your hands over your heart. Or you can still rest them on your hands or on your lap. Just hold it there. Feel your warmth, your own life, your own worth. May this be a reminder that you too deserve care. Your caregiving is an offering. It is courageous. It's tender. It's worthy of honor. Go with gentleness for your family member. Go with gentleness for yourself. Excuse me. Caregiving is not just something you do. It is something you give of your whole self. And again, just taking one slow, deep breath in, allowing the air again to just nourish you. One slow breath out, taking out what we don't need. You are doing enough. You are enough. And so may you leave here with a little more ease, a little more calm, and a reminder that you do not walk this path alone. Thank you for the love you give. Thank you for the care you offer. Thank you for the way your hands continue to show love even when love is complicated. May your hands be strengthened. May your hearts be gentle. And may your hands be blessed. May your hearts be held. And may we each continue in love. And just before I end today and our time together, I just wanted to let you know if you are interested in joining our support group, our Finding Meaning and Purpose support group. Um, our information is here, and I'll actually just put my information on the next slide in case you need to contact me. I'm happy to answer any questions. I'm not sure if there's any questions in the chat, but first of all, it is my privilege to have experienced this with you today. Thank you for allowing me to do this spiritual exploration with you. And again, please feel free to reach out if something comes up. I am so more than happy to be available to explore with you. So thank you. I'll just stop sharing my screen.
Thank you, Justine. Do you mind leaving? Oh, maybe put your contact information in the chat. There's a few
Okay,
people asking how to connect with you.
for sure, will
Um,
do. Yeah, I will definitely do that
and the
right now.
only other question that I see is, would it be possible to share your closing message slash prayer?
Absolutely. I would love to do that.
Okay. Maybe if
Um,
you put it in the chat,
for sure.
we can also maybe send that out as part of a wrap-up email for those that were interested.
Excellent. Yeah. And we can do both. So I will definitely
Perfect.
put that in the chat. So thank you so much, everyone.
No, thank you, Justine.
Thank
That was
you.
emotional for me. I'm glad I had my camera off,
Mm,
and very
mm.
meaningful. So thank you for embracing us all with that. We are now just a couple minutes away from a break, but we'll pause early. I think maybe we all could use an extra moment just to collect ourselves and get recentered and grounded. So thank you again, Justine. We will take a break.